I'm going on a date this Saturday night with my children's father. You can watch Emma and Lucas while I'm gone. Those words came out of my wife's mouth like she'd been rehearsing them. Cold, calculated, designed to cut me in a place I didn't even know could bleed. I'm Christian James, 34 years old, architect, husband, father of two, or at least I thought I was. Standing in our kitchen with a restaurant receipt in my hand. $347 for a dinner I never ate. I realized I didn't know anything anymore. Margaret stood across from me, arms crossed, that new perfume I'd never bought her filling the space between us. She'd been different for months. The late nights, the constant texting, the way she'd started dressing up for work functions that never seemed to involve me meeting her co-workers. I'd ignored it all, told myself I was being paranoid, that 10 years together meant something. But that receipt, that goddamn receipt, I found in her coat pocket while looking for my keys this morning. Antonio's, the restaurant where I proposed her 9 years ago. She'd gone there without me, with someone else. What did you just say? My voice came out quieter than I intended. Margaret's expression didn't change. If anything, she looked irritated that I was making her repeat herself. You heard me. Saturday night. I have plans. You're their father, aren't you? So father them. The psychological game was so obvious, it was almost insulting. She was technically correct. I am their father. Emma just turned 7. Lucas is 5. They're my whole world. But the way Margaret said it, the deliberate phrasing, it was meant to erase me, to make me feel like I'd already been replaced, like some other man had stepped into my role, and I was just a babysitter now. My hands started shaking. I set the receipt down on the counter very carefully, because I was afraid if I held on to it any longer, I might rip it to pieces, and some distant, still rational part of my brain knew I'd need it later. Who is he? I asked. Does it matter? Margaret turned away from me, started loading the dishwasher like we were discussing weekend plans. Not the end of our marriage. You're never here anyway, Christian. You work 60-hour weeks. You come home exhausted. When's the last time you made me feel seen? Made me feel alive? There it was, the justification, the rewriting of history. I did work long hours, because I was trying to save for Emma's braces, for Lucas's speech therapy, for the bigger house Margaret kept saying she wanted. I did come home exhausted, from providing for the family she was now using as a weapon against me. I thought about my father. I was 9 when he left. No warning, just gone one Tuesday morning. I remember standing at the window for weeks, waiting for him to come back. My mother worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. She'd kneel beside me at that window sometimes, and, baby, sometimes people leave because staying is too hard for them. But that doesn't mean you weren't enough. I'd built my entire adult life around never being that man, never abandoning my children, never making them feel the way my father made me feel. Margaret's phone buzzed on the counter. She lunged for it, but I saw the screen, just for a second. A message preview. Can't wait for Saturday, beautiful. The sender name was just initial D. She snatched the phone, held it against her chest. Don't, she said. Just that one word. I looked at my wife, really looked at her. When had she become someone I didn't recognize? When had the woman who used to laugh at my terrible jokes and fall asleep on my shoulder during movies turned into this stranger who could look me in the eye and tell me she was going on a date with my children's father? How long? I asked. Margaret didn't answer. She just walked out of the kitchen, her phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline to whoever D was. I stood there alone, the receipt still on the counter, and something inside me made a decision before my conscious mind caught up. I pulled out my phone and typed into the search bar, divorce attorneys near me. The first result was Victoria Hayes and Associates. 5-star reviews. Specializes in high-conflict custody cases. I clicked the contact button and requested a consultation. The confirmation email arrived 30 seconds later. Available tomorrow, 10 a.m. I saved it. Didn't tell Margaret. Just went upstairs and tucked Emma and Lucas into bed like it was any other night, even though everything had changed. Emma looked up at me with those big brown eyes, my eyes, and said, "Daddy, are you sad?" I kissed her forehead. "No, baby. Daddy's okay." But I wasn't. As I closed her door and heard Margaret laughing on the phone in our bedroom, that laugh, the one I hadn't heard directed at me in months, I knew I'd never be okay with her again. James Rodriguez called me 3 days later. I was at work, pretending everything was normal. "Mr. James, you need to sit down for this." I closed my office door. "Your wife's affair has been going on for 7 months. The man is David Sullivan, 39, married with 2 daughters. He's a textile supplier for several boutiques, including your wife's." Rodriguez paused. "There are multiple instances where your children were present. The file downloaded on my computer. Photo after photo. Margaret and David at the zoo, Emma holding both their hands. Margaret and David at the park, Lucas on David's shoulders. Margaret and David at an ice cream shop, both kids sitting across from them like they were a family. She'd been auditioning her replacement, using my children as props. There was a photo of David's hand on Emma's shoulder, and Emma was looking up at him with complete trust. I made it to my office bathroom before I threw up. "Mr. James, there's something else." Rodriguez's voice continued through my phone speaker. "Cross-referencing dates with your wife's stated whereabouts, we found she told you she was visiting her mother on multiple occasions." "Her mother's been dead for 2 years," I said. "I know. One of those times was Emma's birthday. You were at work. Your wife told you she was taking the kids to visit her mother's grave. Instead, she took them to meet David at a children's museum. Emma's birthday in September. She'd come home with a stuffed dolphin she said Grandma would have wanted her to have. That dolphin was sitting on Emma's bed right now. A gift from my wife's affair partner on our daughter's 7th birthday. Send me everything." I told Rodriguez. I forwarded it all to Victoria Hayes with subject line, "I want full custody." Her response came back in under a minute. "You'll get it." I spent the weekend in absolute silence. Margaret mistook it for defeat. She relaxed, started smiling. She had no idea I was planning a disappearance. Victoria had been clear. Document everything. Separate finances legally, file first. I had 72 hours before Monday when we'd file the papers. Saturday morning, I took Emma and Lucas to the park. At the ice cream shop afterward, Emma ordered chocolate chip. Lucas got strawberry. I memorized this moment before everything changed. "Daddy, why do you look sad?" Emma asked. "Kids see everything." "I'm not sad, Em. Just thinking. About Mommy? You and Mommy don't talk anymore. You don't laugh." Lucas piped up, "Mommy's always on her phone." I wanted to tell them everything would be okay, but I couldn't lie. Things are going to change soon. But Daddy loves you both more than anything. That will never change. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Are you and Mommy getting divorced?" 7 years old, and she could already see the ending. Sunday I packed. Not obviously. I couldn't risk Margaret noticing. My grandfather's watch went into my pocket. The watch that survived a war, a broken heart, 70 years of life. The watch he'd given me with a message. This watch kept ticking. So can you. Everything went into a duffel bag I hid in my car trunk. That night, I wrote 2 letters. One to Margaret. "Since I'm apparently not the children's father you want to be with, I'm removing myself. Your affair partner can step up now. All communication goes through my attorney. One of my kids. Emma and Lucas, Daddy loves you more than anything. I'm going away for a little while, but I'm not leaving you. This is not your fault." Monday morning, I woke at 4 a.m. I crept upstairs one more time. Emma's door was cracked open. She was awake, standing there in her pajamas. "Daddy, where are you going?" Every plan I'd made stopped cold. I knelt in front of my daughter. "I have to go away for a little while, baby, because of Mommy and Daddy, but not because of you." She threw her arms around my neck. "I love you, Daddy." I walked out at 5:15, leaving the letters on the kitchen counter next to the divorce papers. By the time Margaret woke up, I was 30,000 feet in the air, unreachable, gone. Margaret found everything at 4:15 Monday afternoon. I know the exact time because Victoria texted me. She knows. I was sitting in my brother Trevor's living room in Portland when my blocked calls started coming through as unknown number. The first voicemail was shock. Christian, what the fuck? Where are you? The second was anger. You can't just take our money and disappear like a coward. The third was manipulation. Please, Christian, we can work through this. The kids need you. The 10th cycled back to begging. I'm sorry. David means nothing. It's over. Please just come home. I deleted them all without responding. Trevor came home around 6. Found me sitting in the dark. She calling? 68 times so far. You gonna answer? Victoria says no contact. My phone rang again. Robert, Margaret's father. I answered. Christian, it's Robert. Margaret called us crying. You need to tell us your side. I told him everything. The 7-month affair, the evidence, the way Margaret had taken Emma and Lucas to meet David, the cruel statement about going on a date with her children's father, the discovery that she consulted divorce attorneys 3 months ago. When I finished, there was long, heavy silence. Are you certain? I have documentation. Send it to me? I forwarded him photos. Margaret and David at dinner. At the zoo with the kids. Emma holding both their hands. 5 minutes later, Robert called back. I could hear he'd been crying. That son of a bitch bought Emma the dolphin, the one she brought to our house. Margaret let her lie to us. I know. I'm so sorry, Christian. Susan needs to see these. And then we need to call Margaret. You're a good man. You deserve better than this. 20 minutes later, Victoria called. Christian, I just got a very interesting call from Margaret's mother. She wants to testify on your behalf in the custody hearing. Margaret had lost everything. The news went viral on Wednesday. Margaret posted on Facebook a photo of her with Emma and Lucas, looking devastated. The caption read, Sometimes the hardest truths are the ones we face alone. I'm pregnant, and my husband has abandoned us. Trevor showed me the post. I stared at it, unable to process. She's pregnant. Trevor asked, I don't know. If she is, I don't know if it's mine. I called Victoria immediately. Do not respond, she said. Do not engage. This is manipulation. But someone I suspected Margaret's parents had commented. Before everyone rushes to judgment, perhaps you should ask Margaret about the 7-month affair with David Sullivan and the documentation. The comments section exploded. People demanded answers. By Thursday morning, the local news had picked it up. Then Victoria called with an update that made my blood run cold. David Sullivan's wife commented on Margaret's post. What did she say? She said, quote, David Sullivan is not the father. He had a vasectomy 3 years ago. So, Margaret, if you're pregnant, who else was there? The implication was clear. If David had a vasectomy, and if I'd barely touched Margaret in months, then who was the father? Margaret is claiming it's yours, Victoria said. But Christian, her own affair partner's wife, just publicly stated he can't be the father, which means either you are or there was someone else. We need a paternity test. Already filed a motion. That weekend, Emma called me. Margaret had finally agreed to let me talk to the kids. Daddy, Emma's voice was small. Hi, baby. I miss you so much. Mommy's been crying a lot. She says you left because you don't love us anymore. My heart stopped. Emma, that's not true. I love you and Lucas more than anything. I left because Mommy and Daddy can't be married anymore, but I will never leave you. Then why did you go away? Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes that hurt other grown-ups. I'm going to see you very soon. 2 weeks. You're going to come visit me in Portland. I miss you, Daddy. After we hung up, I cried. Not for Margaret. For my kids, caught in the middle. 2 weeks later, Emma and Lucas flew to Portland. I picked them up at the airport, and Emma dropped her backpack and ran to me. I scooped them both up. I missed you so much, I said into their hair. That week, I tried to give them normal. Zoo, science museum, waterfront, movies and board games. I tucked them into bed every night, reading stories until they fell asleep. But Emma's questions came out in pieces. At the zoo, is Mommy going to marry David? At the museum, did you leave because of me? On the 4th day, Emma crawled into bed with me at 2 a.m. She was crying quietly. Em, what's wrong? I heard Mommy on the phone. She said the baby might not be yours. She said she doesn't know whose it is. My blood went cold. Is Mommy having a baby with someone else? Daddy, I don't understand. This was the moment I'd been dreading. Sometimes adults make mistakes. Big mistakes that hurt people. Your mommy made choices that hurt our family. But Emma, none of that is your fault. No matter what happens with the baby. I'm your daddy, and I always will be. But what if the baby is David's? Or someone else's? Then we'll figure it out. Together. Emma curled into me. I don't want you and Mommy to hate each other. I don't hate your mommy. I'm sad about what happened, but I don't hate her. The next morning, Victoria called. The paternity test results are in. The baby is yours, Christian. You're the father. I sat down. Emma and Lucas were watching cartoons in the next room, oblivious. She's definitely pregnant then. 12 weeks along. Conception was approximately 3 months ago. I tried to remember. It had been perfunctory, obligatory sex in a dying marriage. Margaret had initiated it. Had this been part of her plan? What does this mean for custody? It complicates things, but doesn't change the fundamentals. Margaret's affair, her use of Emma and Lucas as props, all of that still stands. You're going to be connected to this woman for the rest of your life. That evening, I sat Emma and Lucas down. Mommy is going to have a baby, a little brother or sister for you. It's mine, which means it's your sibling. Emma looked at me carefully. Is it yours, Daddy? God, she was smart. Yes, Em. But you're not with Mommy anymore. So how does that work? It means Mommy and I will both be parents to the baby, but we won't be married. Emma looked sad. Does this mean you might go back to Mommy? That broke my heart. No, sweetheart. Mommy and I can't be married anymore. The custody hearing was on a Tuesday morning in late October. I flew back the night before, stayed in a hotel. The courtroom was small. Margaret was already there, sitting on the opposite side. She looked diminished, smaller somehow. Her maternity clothes were neat but not expensive. No makeup. My parents were there. Her parents, too, sitting on my side. That spoke volumes. Judge Patricia Morrison entered, a woman in her 60s with reading glasses on a chain. Victoria stood and for 20 minutes laid out the case methodically. The 7-month affair, the use of Emma and Lucas as props, the children's father comment, the social media campaign. She presented Emma's diary. The judge read Emma's entries in silence, her expression growing colder. Then Victoria called my mother to the stand. My son has always been a devoted father. He calls those children every single night. He's flown back twice in 2 months. Meanwhile, Margaret has been telling people he abandoned them. Next witness, Robert, Margaret's father. Margaret is my daughter. Christian is my son-in-law. I love my daughter. But what she did to Christian, what she did to my grandchildren by dragging them into her affair, it's unconscionable. He looked directly at Margaret. I love you, sweetheart, but you need to take responsibility. Those babies deserve better. Christian deserves better. Margaret was openly crying. Victoria called Dr. Sarah Chun, a child psychologist. Both children show strong attachment to their father. Emma expresses anxiety about her father's absence. Lucas has begun exhibiting behavioral issues consistent with parental alienation. The mother has made negative statements about the father. This is harmful. Then Margaret's attorney called her to stand. Mrs. James, tell us about your relationship with your children. They're my whole world. I made mistakes. The affair was wrong. But I was lonely. I'm just asking for the chance to be a mother. Victoria cross-examined. Mrs. James, you told your husband you were going on a date with your children's father. You told him he could watch the kids. You were deliberately trying to make him feel worthless, weren't you? Margaret's voice was barely audible. I was angry. I wasn't thinking clearly. Did your therapist use the term psychological manipulation to describe that statement? Yes. Did your therapist say that was emotional abuse? Yes. Judge Morrison took off her glasses. I'm going to issue a ruling today. Based on the evidence, I'm finding that primary physical custody with Mr. James is in the children's best interests. Margaret gasped. Mrs. James, you'll have visitation every other weekend, alternating holidays, and one evening per week via video call. You will continue therapy. You will not make disparaging remarks about Mr. James. I'd won. Therapy was Margaret's idea. 2 weeks after the custody hearing, her attorney contacted Victoria with a proposal. Co-parenting therapy before Emma and Lucas made the permanent move. That's how I ended up in Dr. Richard Foster's office on a gray November afternoon. Margaret came in looking smaller than ever, 6 months pregnant, wearing a simple sweater, no makeup. Christian, she said quietly. Margaret, Dr. Foster began. We're here for one reason, Emma and Lucas. Can you do that? We both nodded. Margaret, why did you request this therapy? Because I've lost everything. My marriage, my job, custody, my parents' respect. I realized I did this. All of it. She looked at me. I'm sorry. I know you don't believe me, but I am sorry, and I want to do better. Christian, what are you feeling? I don't know if I believe her, but I want to, for the kid's sake. For the next hour, we hammered out details. Communication only through the parenting app. No negative talk about each other to the kids. Exchange times. Holiday schedules. Then Dr. Foster asked, What about the baby? I don't know, Margaret said. I'm 6 months pregnant, and he's 3,000 miles away. I'll be there for the birth if you want, I said. I'll pay my share. I'll set up a nursery in Portland. I'll be a father to this child. But Margaret, I'm not coming back. I know. I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to be there for the baby. Then we'll figure it out. As we left, Margaret caught my arm. Christian, thank you. For not hating me. For being willing to co-parent. I'm not doing it for you, Margaret. I'm doing it for our kids. That night, I called Emma. Hi, Daddy. Hi, baby. How was school? Good. We learned about the solar system. Put Lucas on, please. Hi, Daddy. Hey, buddy. I heard you had a tough day. I just wanted to tell Michael about my dinosaur book. I know, but we have to wait for the right time, okay? Okay, Daddy. Emma came back on. Daddy, Mom's being weird. Weird how? She's being nice. She made us pancakes and asked about you. She wanted to know if you were happy. My throat tightened. What did you tell her? I said you smile more now. Is that okay? You said exactly the right thing. 6 months later, everything had changed. Emma and Lucas had been living with me in Portland for 4 months. New schools, new friends. Lucas was thriving in speech therapy. Emma had joined a soccer team. They video called Margaret twice a week and flew back for weekend visits once a month. Margaret had gotten a new job in Seattle, closer to Portland. She'd stayed in therapy. She'd stayed off social media. She was trying. The baby, Sophie, was due in 2 weeks. Margaret had asked me to be there for the birth. I'd agreed, not because I wanted to be, but because Sophie deserved her father present. I was sitting in my new apartment when Emma came into the living room with her diary. Daddy, can I read you something? She sat next to me, open to a recent page. May 15th. I've been in Portland 4 months. I miss Mom sometimes, but I'm happy here. Dad doesn't look sad anymore. He laughs. Uncle Trevor is funny. I think Mom is sad, but she's trying to be better. Grandpa says Mom is learning from her mistakes. I hope that's true. Dad said mistakes don't define us, but how we handle them does. I think he was talking about Mom. Maybe Mom can become someone better. I still love Mom. I still love Dad. I wish they loved each other. But they don't, and that's okay. Because they both love me and Lucas and baby Sophie. And that's enough. Emma looked up at me. Is it enough, Daddy? That you both love us but not each other? I pulled her close. Yes, baby. That's more than enough. 2 weeks later, I flew back. Margaret was in labor. Her water had broken at 3 a.m., and her mother had called me. I made it to the hospital by noon. You came, Margaret said. Of course I came. She's my daughter. Our daughter, Margaret corrected. I stayed through the labor. When Sophie arrived at 6:47 p.m., 7 pounds 3 ounces, I was the first person to hold her after Margaret. She was perfect. Tiny fingers, dark hair, Margaret's nose, my eyes. "Hi, Sophie," I whispered. "I'm your dad, and I promise I'm going to love you and your sisters and your brother for the rest of my life." "She's beautiful," Margaret said, crying. "She is." I handed Sophie back, watched her cradle our daughter. For a moment, I could almost remember why I'd loved this woman. But then reality reasserted itself. This wasn't reconciliation. This was two people brought together by a child. I'm going to set up a nursery in Portland. I'll fly back monthly until she's old enough to travel more easily. Okay, Christian, thank you for being here. You're welcome. I stayed for 3 hours. Then I left. In the parking lot, I called Victoria. "It's done. Baby's here. Everything's official." "How do you feel?" "Complicated." "That's normal. But Christian, you did it. You protected yourself, got custody of Emma and Lucas, and you're being a present father to Sophie. That's a win." My phone buzzed. "Margaret, Sophie wants to know when Daddy's coming back to visit." I smiled. "Tell Sophie her daddy will be there next month. And every month after that. Because I wasn't my father. I wouldn't abandon my children. But I also wasn't the man I'd been. The man who let himself be disrespected. I was someone new. Someone stronger." The final decision came on a Tuesday in early December, 8 months after I'd walked out. I was sitting in a Seattle park, waiting for Margaret to bring Sophie for her monthly visit. Emma and Lucas were in school in Portland. Margaret arrived looking different, healthier, hairstyled, actual clothes. She carried 5-month-old Sophie in a carrier. "Hi," Margaret said, sitting on the bench with space between us. "Hi. I ask you here because I need to tell you something. I'm selling the house. Your house. My lawyer says I could fight for half the equity, but I'm not going to. I'm signing it over to you. I can't live there anymore. Too many memories." "Margaret, let me finish. I've been doing therapy. Soul searching. That statement I made about you watching the kids while I went on a date with their father. That wasn't the first time I'd erased you. I'd been doing for years. Making you feel small. Then when you left, I played victim because I couldn't accept that I'd driven you away." She looked at me. "You asked me once when I stopped loving you. The truth is, I don't think I ever stopped. But I stopped seeing you. You became a fixture instead of a person. That was my failing, not yours. Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to know it wasn't about you. You were a good husband, a great father. That was my failing." Sophie stirred. Margaret picked her up, held her. "I'm moving to Seattle permanently, closer to you and the kids. Not to get back together. I know that's over. But Emma and Lucas shouldn't have to fly every time they want to see me." "That's a good idea." I admitted. "I've also started dating someone. His name is James. He's a therapist. We met in grief counseling. He knows everything. He's helping me be better. For me. For our kids." I felt relief. Margaret moving on meant true coexistence. "I'm happy for you," I said, meaning it. "Thank you." She handed Sophie to me. "Your turn." I held my daughter. This little person who was half me and half a woman I used to love. "I met someone too," I said. "Her name is Rachel. She works at Emma's school. She's a teacher. She's patient. Kind. She makes me laugh." Margaret smiled genuinely. "Good. You deserve that." We sat there, two people who'd once promised forever, now just co-parents. "Do you think the kids will be okay?" Margaret asked. "I think they'll be okay because we're both trying. Because we're not making them choose sides. Because we're showing them that sometimes love isn't enough, but respect is." Sophie grabbed my finger, held on tight. Margaret stood. "I should get back. James is taking me to dinner. Our 3-month anniversary." "Margaret," I stopped her. "Thank you for not fighting on the house, for moving closer, for being honest, for trying. It's the least I can do. Christian, I really am sorry. For all of it. For the affair, the manipulation, that horrible thing I said. I'll regret those choices for the rest of my life. I know. She walked away, and I watched her go without anger, without heartbreak, just acceptance. My phone buzzed. Emma, Dad, Lucas, and I were wondering if we could get a dog. I smiled and typed back, "Let's talk about it when I get home tonight." Home. Portland was home now. I stood up, Sophie in my arms, and walked back to my car. As I buckled her into the car seat, I thought about that morning 8 months ago when I'd walked out with just my grandfather's watch and my dignity. I'd lost a wife but gained myself. I'd lost a marriage but kept my children. My phone rang. Rachel. Hey, I'm just leaving Seattle. Should be home by dinner. Perfect. Emma and Lucas want to show you their science projects. Also, Lucas may have accidentally told his teacher, "I'm your girlfriend." I laughed. Sorry about that. Don't be. I'm not hiding it. Are you? No, definitely not. Good. Drive safe. I love you. We hadn't said that yet. I love you too. After we hung up, I sat in the parking lot. Sophie sleeping peacefully in the back seat. I looked at my grandfather's watch. Still ticking. I thought about Margaret's statement. I'm going on a date with my children's father. She'd meant to erase me. Instead, she'd set me free. I didn't disappear that morning. I escaped from a relationship killing me slowly, from a version of myself that accepted disrespect. I'd rebuilt, found a new city, new life, new love. I'd shown my children that self-respect isn't selfishness. Margaret had tried to destroy me with that one cruel sentence. Instead, she'd save me. I started the car and headed north toward Portland, toward home, toward Emma and Lucas and Rachel, toward a future that was mine to write. My phone buzzed one last time. Margaret, thank you for being Sophie's father. And thank you for showing me what I lost. I hope you're happy. Christian, you deserve it. I looked at the message for a long moment. Then I typed back, I hope you find peace, Margaret, for Sophie's sake and for yours. I hit send and put the phone away. Then I drove home to my children, to the woman who saw me, to the life I'd built from the ashes. The watch kept ticking. So, did I,